Hey fellow Cal Poly engineers! Are you getting tired of studying and staying inside all day? If you're as swamped with work as I am, then you need a break. Maybe bouldering is for you. In this video, we'll be demonstrating the basics of bouldering for individuals who have little to no experience climbing. Bouldering is a subsection of rock climbing done without a harness or ropes. While rock climbing walls can be dozens of feet tall, bouldering is usually done on small rock formations between 10 and 15 feet tall. As Cal Poly engineers, we'll be showing you how to boulder on Cal Poly's bouldering wall, which is the smaller rock wall right outside the rec center. By the end of this video, you'll know the equipment and basic climbing techniques needed to successfully boulder. First, here are some things you'll need to do before leaving home. You'll want to wear loose clothing to give you a good range of movement. If you burn easily, you'll want to put on some sunscreen. Next, take off any rings. They may get caught in the wall as you're climbing and leave you with anything from a nasty scratch to a torn off finger. You may also want to trim your fingernails, as some people hate the sound of scratching on the wall. After you've taken these precautions, do a quick warm-up to stretch out your arms and legs. This will keep you from pulling any muscles on your first climb. Now we can head down to the rec center to grab our equipment. If you don't know where it is on campus, you can find the rec center, Building 43, using the Cal Poly app. Once you get there, you'll need to head to Poly Escapes, which is located to the right of the main entrance. Poly Escapes provides most of the equipment you need to rock climb. Simply enter your rec center number into the hand scanner and rent out climbing shoes and a wristband. The climbing shoes are rubberized to make sure you have good traction on the rock climbing structure. After putting on your shoes, check the toes to make sure there's no extra room. If so, you should get a smaller size. There's community chalk at the rock climbing wall. You can get your own very cheaply at most athletic stores, but save that for after you get addicted. Rock climbing spot is to the right of the recreation center, even farther than Poly Escapes. Just keep walking until you see the unmistakable rock walls come into view. Now you're ready to start a climb, but not so fast. There are a few things to do before you get on the wall. The first step is to choose a route. A route is a series of holds marked with colored tape that form a path up the wall. Bouldering routes are rated based on the V scale, which is a scale used to try to standardize the difficulty rating of bouldering routes. Each route is designated a rating, which is a V followed by a number. V0 is the easiest, V1 is more difficult, and so forth. When choosing a route, beginners should start with a V0. It's always a good idea to know where a route is going before you start it, as well as having a general idea where the holds in the route are. This is called mapping a route, and this plan makes completing the route easier because you don't have to pause and look around for where to go while you're hanging on the wall. After choosing a route, you should find the starting holds, also known as the start. At the Cal Poly bouldering wall, this hold will be designated with 2 pieces of tape, as well as the rating for the route and the title of the route. At the end of each route, there is a finishing hold, also known as the finish. Sometimes this may be a plastic hold, but at the Cal Poly bouldering wall, the finish is usually on the lip of the top of the wall. To finish a route, you must control the finish, which means you must place both hands on the finish and hold it for about a second. To start climbing on a bouldering route, you must place your hands on the start of the route and place your feet on the footholds corresponding to that particular route. After lifting yourself completely off the ground, you must pause a moment and then begin climbing. Once you reach the finish and control it, you have completed the route. You can either climb back down using any holds or simply drop down clear of the wall safely onto the ground. To safely drop off the wall, look down for a safe cushioned area on the ground. Make sure to push off with your legs so you're clear and land feet first. After making first contact with the ground, bend your knees to soften the landing or roll onto your back. Safety is the first priority when bouldering, especially when descending. Now that you know how to approach your climbing bouldering route, we will now get into some climbing techniques. If you can't remember all of these terms, don't worry about it. There will be a glossary at the end referencing all the bouldering vocabulary stated in this video. For a beginning climber, an extremely valuable piece of advice is to use your legs. Many beginners, especially guys, tend to try to muscle their way up the route by mostly using their arms and disregarding their legs. This is tiring and difficult. A much better way to climb is to think of a wall as a ladder of sorts, standing up on the footholds and balancing yourself with the handholds. Similarly, it is helpful to try to keep your weight above your feet as much as possible. This will take weight off of your arms. Another valuable technique that is beneficial for taking the strain off your arms is straightening them out, rather than flexing your arm muscles, which tires them out. Other techniques include bumping, which is when you use a hold in between the one you're holding and the one you want to get to balance yourself. Another helpful technique is matching, which is when you place both hands on the same hold. When bouldering, you will encounter holds of many different shapes and sizes. Each type of hold is important, and knowing the correct technique to handle each one is crucial to progress as a beginner. The first type of hold is a jug. They are large holds with a large hole on the top, shaped perfectly for grabbing, so not much technique is involved in handling them. Jugs are a climber's best friend, as they are extremely easy to use. One of the most difficult holds to use is a crimp. Crimps are small holds that usually only have enough room to fit the pads of your fingertips. There are two grips used to handle a crimp effectively. The first is the open grip, where you put the pads of your fingers on the hold and hang the rest of your hand down below the hold, your fingers being relatively extended. The second grip is also called a crimp grip, or crimping the hold. This involves bending the fingers until the knuckles lie above the fingertips and wrapping your thumb onto the first knuckle of your pointer finger. But be careful! Unlike the open grip, which places the weight on the muscles in your arms, crimping places the weight on the tendons and ligaments in your fingers, which may result in injury if overused. As a beginner, it is advised that you use the open grip as much as possible on crimp holds. At first, it may not feel as strong as crimping, but soon your forearm muscles will strengthen, and using the open grip will feel easier and easier on crimp holds. Another type of hold is a pinch. With a pinch, the thumb is placed on the opposite side of the hold as your other fingers, and then you pinch. These holds don't require much technical knowledge, but may be difficult for beginners to use effectively. But don't give up. Give it a little practice, and soon you'll be pinching like a pro. A very interesting type of holds is an undercling. Underclings are usually jugs or crimps, but turned upside down or rotated in such a way that you are supposed to grab them when you are above them. They can help you balance on the wall and keep your weight above your feet by helping you pull your hips towards the wall. Another type of hold is a feature. Some walls, including the Cal Poly bouldering wall, look somewhat like a natural rock with little cracks and crevices. These cracks and crevices are called features. The technique used for handling a feature varies, as the shape and size of features is not always consistent. The best idea is to use the technique for the corresponding hold time that the feature is most similar to. Now that we have covered what to do with your hands, let's talk about your feet. Although hand placement may seem very important to a beginner, foot placement is equally as important and should not be overlooked. Most of the footholds that you will have are chips, which are tiny little holds just large enough for the edge of your climbing shoe. This is where edging comes in. When edging, you place your toe or the side of your climbing shoe on the hold. Climbing shoes are designed to edge very well, so that placing your foot on these chips doesn't hurt, and you can put a lot of weight on them. Sometimes, you need to readjust your body relative to the wall to get to where you need to go or to balance yourself. In these cases, switching feet may be necessary. To switch feet, simply hop your one foot off the hold while hopping the other one onto it. There may come a time when you're climbing a route and you think the route setter forgot to add a foothold to a route. They probably didn't forget, and now you have to deal with it. To do so, we will use a technique called smearing, which is when you take your foot and try to place the bottom of it as flat against the wall as possible. You can't stand up on the smeared foot, but it might give you that extra bit of relief that you need to get to the next foothold. Remember to maximize the surface area. After you've completed your first successful day at the wall, you must take off and return all your equipment borrowed from Poly Escapes. Now that you're armed with the basics of bouldering, all that's left is to head out to the wall and practice. We will now show some clips from your perspective as we close out. Soon enough, you'll be facing V4 and V5 routes. You may even want to branch out into rock climbing, but that's a subject for another video. If you still want more information, there are certified ASI employees at the wall that can answer any questions you have about bouldering. Good luck and happy climbing! Here's a glossary of all the terms we went over in case you need to review any of them. Feel free to pause the video and look at anything that was unclear.